Support WrestleTalk!
Happy Halloween! Ooh, spooky, scary skeletons, creepy crawlies, but that's nothing compared to the horrors that lurk beneath the trapdoor, for there is always something down there in the dark, waiting to come out. Don't you open that trapdoor, as you may get some news. It's been a pretty crazy week for news in this even crazier world we call wrestling. With all the fallout from Charlotte Flair going against the script, Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory, Luke Owen exploding over Ghostbusters references on Dynamite, and the sad news of Ring of Honor releasing their entire roster with little word on what the future holds for them. And because of all of that, there have been some news stories that have slipped through the cracks and you totally missed them, like all those lads on NXT missing MSK and Imperium in the tag team match. Do better. Don't part like the Red Sea. Catch the buggers. Also subscribe to this channel, please. Why not? Here are 10 news stories you may have missed from this past week. Number 1, Chad Gable leaving WWE. We get a lot of messages from fans here at WrestleTalk in the news and on the podcast. Humble brag, we get a lot of messages, but one of the more common themes is blank is being wasted and should go to blank. There's a lot of names that come up with that phrase, like Beautiful Boy Keith Lee or Captain of the Star Flip Enterprise Ricochet. However, the most common name we get is Chad Gable. The man who probably should have been Kurt Angle's son was part of the amazing tag team American Alpha, and then cricket. Hardly a stellar WWE career, and apparently it's not just our fans that want Chad the lad to get out of WWE, as Dave Meltzer mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio that he definitely has had friends telling him to leave WWE, and I know it's been one of those things that's under consideration. Before you jump on the Chad Gable to AEW confirmed bandwagon, or what's Gad Chable doing in the Impact Zone gimmicks, Meltzer added, I don't think he's going anywhere. Despite all that, there has been chatter backstage that AEW are interested in Gable, so in the words of Lloyd Christmas, you're telling me there's a chance? Number 2, MSK part of an NXT Conspiracy? No one's favorite tag team, MSK, have been getting booed at pretty much every taping of NXT 2.0 shortly after they debuted, although pushed as a babyface team to appeal to kids and their TikToks and the Venmo. Us old men have been booing them and yelling for those whippersnappers to get off our lawn. As Zach Gibson once so eloquently put it, they're the biggest knobheads he's ever met. What's interesting here, though, is that this isn't just old blokes complaining on Twitter that they don't understand these kids. It's reportedly a concerted effort by a group of fans to make sure everyone boos them, and according to Super Sleuth Dave Meltzer, the leaders of this revolt against MSK are none other than the parents of Izzy. You know Izzy, right? The Bayley superfan who Sasha Banks once made cry, who has since become an awesome member of the wrestling media community in her own right. Well, back in 2018, she took a chokeslam at an event by Effie, which was denounced by several in the industry, including Lance Storm, Chelsea Green, and Nash Carter of MSK. So allegedly, in retaliation, Izzy's parents have convinced enough people to join them in their crusade to boo MSK. There isn't a lot of evidence to prove this is real. It certainly wouldn't hold up in court, not even a Phoenix Wright court. Number 3, Braun Strowman's wrestling future. It was heavily speculated that the former monster in the bank, hate that, Braun Strowman would be appearing at Impact's Bound for Glory this past weekend, which never ended up actually happening. And if you thought it might happen at some point soon, it's been announced that Strowman, under his real name Adam Shear, will be at the December 4th GLCW Blizzard Brawl, and apparently this will be his only wrestling appearance for the rest of the year. On a similar note, Taylor Rotunda, the former Bo Dallas, will appear at WrestleCade Revenge from November 26th through to the 28th. Number 4, original Rampage plans. AEW Rampage has given us some classic moments already in its short history, like the debut of CM Punk, Christian Cage winning the Impact Championship, Danielson versus Nick Jackson, Andrade El Idolo 2 versus Pac 2, and by all accounts, Danielson versus Kingston was also pretty great, but I'm recording this before that's aired. However, it was nearly a different show. According to Tony Khan himself, he'd been pitched to make Rampage more like WWE's ill-fated Backstage show on Fox, you know, the show that actually saw the wrestling return of CM Punk. Although Ollie didn't cry about that. TK said, I don't think wrestling fans will want to see that format. Wrestling fans, when they tune in to watch their wrestling show, they want to see wrestlers wrestle, and Backstage, to me, should be like a lower budget streaming type show. Want to watch CM Punk wrestle? I want to watch Christian Cage wrestle. To me, that is the bread and butter. For Rampage, it was part of a format that I turned down and refused to do. They said, would you do this as part of a third hour? I said, no, it's going to be wrestling. Man, Tony, he really likes his wrestling. What an idiot. Number 5, MJF Swerve. Speaking of Rampage, and in the lead up to CM Punk's debut, there was a lot of internet chatter who all had a similar idea. What if Cult of Personality hit and MJF walked out instead? For such nuclear heat, it would create an awakened Godzilla. And as it turns out, Punk also had the same idea. Telling Joss Martinez on Z100, Punk said, that of course did cross my mind. Once I realized that was the thought on everyone's mind, to me, it wasn't the right thing to do yet. Not yet. There you go, folks. It's you you people's fault we didn't get the spot. Number 6, Ciampa versus Breakker feud continuing. Toxic Attraction has won the women's tag titles and the women's championship. Carmelo Hayes won the North American championship. Imperium won the tag team gold. It seemed like a slam dunk that Braun Breakker was going to win the NXT championship from Tommy Champs, but it wasn't to be. Even though WrestleVotes had tweeted this would crown the Breakker era of NXT 2.0, he lost, and Ciampa is still champion. However, it looks like the feud must continue as Breakker and Ciampa will be fighting over the NXT championship on the upcoming UK house show loop in triple threats with Sami Zayn of all people. Continuing a match on house shows means that the company still have plans for the feud, which means a rematch might be around the corner. Number 7, FTR AAA plans. FTR won the AAA Tag Team Championships from the Lucha Bros earlier this month on Dynamite, and we now know what the team have in store for them when they head down to Mexico this coming week. Oddly, Dave Meltzer reported that FTR won't be managed by Tully Blanchard in AAA as they are in AEW, but instead will have Vicky Guerrero in their corner. Why? No idea. Vicky's great, why not? Meltzer also adds that the current plans for Triple Mania on December 4th is a 3-way dance with FTR, Lucha Bros, and Dragon Lee and Dralistico. However, that isn't confirmed yet. Number 8, Sami Callihan injury update. Sami Callihan is bloody brilliant, and we here at WrestleTalk think he's ace, so it would be heartbreaking to hear that he was out with an injury, one so bad he wouldn't be back in the ring until sometime in 2022. In his own words, Sami didn't just break his ankle, he, and this is a direct quote, straight up Sid Vicious himself, which is gross. Speaking with Battleground Podcast, Sami said that he is currently in recovery but is still a ways off yet. I'm like 4 weeks into recovery right now, finally got the stitches out from surgery and able to do a little bit of range of motion. Not going to be able to put any pressure on it for another 4 or 5 weeks, and then I'll start rehab. You can't get rid of me that easy. Trust me, when I come back, there will be hell to pay, and you'll see an entirely new death machine. We can't wait. Number 9, original Elite plans. In an angle that was seemingly written just to make Luco and Mark out, the Elite came out dressed as Ghostbusters on this past week's Dynamite in a trick or street fight against Dark Order. They even did a spot where they slammed their proton packs into them like they were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the second film during the Vanilla Ice concert. Seriously, this is just to make Luco and Mark out. However, according to Fightful Select, the Elite weren't going to be Ghostbusters and instead were supposed to be in costumes based on the hit Netflix show Squid Game, which I haven't seen but feel like I have because Twitter talks about it a lot. What's interesting here is that these plans weren't stopped by Tony Khan, the Elite, or Cody Rhodes, but TNT and Warner Media themselves. Fightful note there's no heat between AEW and the network, and it's probably just a case that TNT didn't realize how much of a parody the costumes would be, given that the Ghostbusters costumes were super last minute. It's impressive they got it all together and gave us this wonderful Stay Puffed reveal. Stay Puff Stay Puff And number 10, Jim Ross starting a weed farm. And you thought CM Punk coming back to wrestling would be the weirdest story of 2021. Go home 2021, you're high. Probably from good old JR's cannabis that he's now growing on his own cannabis farm. Ross said, my youngest daughter and her husband and I, and another guy, a lawyer, a specialty in the field, are getting ready to start a cannabis farm, and we're looking at the working title of Black Hat Farms. I bought some land in Oklahoma recently for the grow houses and all the things. That's going to be their life. That's going to be a big deal. She's got a great job in marketing. She's not going to quit that. I wouldn't even let her consider that. So I'm excited about that for my kids. Put some barbecue sauce on that. And that's our list. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm off for 2 weeks. See ya, suckers. I've got no idea who's going to be doing these videos. Probably Pete. You'd like that, wouldn't you? If it was Pete. Bless Pete. He's the champion of this company, apparently. Jam that jam.